Thanks for listening to Absurd and Report podcast. Real quick before we get started, I just have a quick message from our sponsors. Today's episode is sponsored in part by Dead Canvas Art on Facebook.com. This is a very cool artist collective. So every week we have a featured artist from the Dead Canvas art community. This week's featured artist is Timothy Young. He has a Instagram at tattoosbyd.t, and that's on Instagram. You can find him on Facebook. He is an artist at Next Level Tattoo and Piercing in Foliv, Alabama. So once again, we want to thank Timothy Young and Dead Canvas Art on Facebook for helping us out with a little sponsorship here. So thanks for tuning in, and please enjoy our special guest episode with Nick Sadler from the band Daughters. Absurd and Report podcast. I'm Derek.
And I'm Josh.
I'm Nicole.
I'm Nick Sadler.
Hey, that's one more person than normal. We have.
I thought you were gonna go to like an Ed McMahon-esque, like, hey.
Where's the hot one?
We don't have a sound effects board. We're too poor for that.
I sold it.
Can it just? I'm just gonna sample my own voice for next time.
Yeah. That works. Make your own soundboard DIY episode.
Yep.
We have a special guest in-house, Nick from the famed Providence-based band Daughters. First record came out 2003. Canada Songs, if I'm not mistaken, was the first official release.
There's a 7-inch before that from 2002, but
that was just self-titled, isn't it?
Yeah, well now with the digital stuff, everyone just calls it an EP. But it's not. It's like 4 minutes worth of stuff, and half of that is sampling samples.
So there's not as much structure to it, basically.
Like noise stuff, yeah.
I haven't heard it that specific one since I was like a teenager, I think. So
it's like my favorite one.
Yeah. And you've been with the band from the jump, from the get-go?
Yeah, coming up on 19 years.
That's crazy.
I remember in college for music, I eventually went, and they made us pick out instruments in a piece that they would play. And that was incredibly difficult, and I remember being there and being like, these guys should listen to Daughters. They wouldn't even know what to do.
It's funny you should say that, because when we're mixing and things like this and I'm planning pre-production, I go out of my way to make it harder for your ear to discern what is happening in the mix, because unlike most bands, I do not want people trying to cover my music very easily.
Right.
You know, and I don't want to reveal the magic trick.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I have noticed that on the production on some of it, where I'm like, I can't tell what is what in some of the songs, you know?
I really like that.
Between like the instruments and the electronics noises.
I'll write 2 guitar parts that are palindromes. I can reveal that much. They'll be just a palindrome, but then I'll mix them really close to each other.
Oh, okay.
You know, things like this.
Now, so aside from guitar playing, you're also main producer for the band?
Yeah, it kind of nothing in Daughters is really all that planned out, but it sort of fell into my lap, and I sort of over the years became the principal songwriter. And in my mind, it's difficult to write a song without having an idea for production. They go hand in hand, and so that's just kind of how it worked out. So at the end, we take everything to machines with magnets, and the professionals.
Yeah, mastering is not the same as So you send them your mixed down copies and everything, and then do you sit with them?
I'll make like these really elaborate demos, and I'll be working on the common thread throughout a song or an album. It might be a tone or a production angle, things the way I want things to sound. And then I will take those to machines and we will either re-record certain parts or we'll export from my stuff and mix it in. And Seth Manchester there is an incredibly talented and artful engineer. And so he applies everything he knows to what I have. And then also he and I have been working together now for like 15 years or something on like 20 recordings. So we have a relationship where he can speak up and say, this sounds like shit, this is a stupid idea. Or he'll say, I have an idea, and I can go, that's a stupid idea, but that one's great, let's do it. And then with our most recent record, we've sent it out to Heba Kadri, and she's a mastering engineer that's done like Bjork and all kinds of stuff.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah. She's incredibly talented. And,
where are those studios?
Oh my God, Brooklyn, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that
makes sense.
That newer album's definitely like has that kind of a vibe to it. I would say like almost like late '90s art rock ambient stuff. Some of it,
Also, it's 2020, so I'm feeling particularly stultified. Creativity is not coming to me like it used to.
You and everybody else in this room.
And sunshine and farts.
I keep telling everybody, I was like, I feel like I'm rotting away, like in my living room because I work at home too. So I'm like, I'm at home like 24 hours all the time.
Yeah, I forgot they had you at home too.
Yeah, I'm at home all the time, so I feel like I'm rotting away behind this computer screen.
It's so weird, man. Inspired. I mean, Daughters is my job now. I get paid to write songs for Daughters. It's not a lot of money or anything. It's a little better than I used to do.
I remember you used to work with me and you were like amped that you're like, I get to fucking quit because my band is popular now.
It was cool, and it's funny. You be careful what you wish for because now I have no structure in my life, and all of a sudden you go, oh, I'm not as big of a self-starter as I thought I was.
Yeah. I need self-structure. That's why I miss going into the office.
Yeah. And I picked up some shifts at Jam Stage. That was the other place I worked all that time.
Yeah, I remember.
Just to get out of the house and be around music. And
the Taunton?
No. This isn't Pawtucket.
This is the Pawtucket one? Gotcha.
But I'm trying to give myself I'm trying to forgive myself a little bit to remember that it is 2020. This isn't the most normal year in which you have all the time to yourself. I have all this time to myself, and there's not a lot I can do with it,
Yeah, I did want to ask you about creating in a COVID atmosphere where, everything's closed. Or if it's not closed, it's under restrictions of some kind. And we just finished an interview with some producers of a local movie, Death Drop Gorgeous.
Oh, those are my friends. We worked together. Actually, I don't think Josh was there then, but these are buddies of mine going back years.
And they seem to know Josh. We sat down. They're like, "Oh, Josh, how's it going, bud?" And
nice impersonation, by the way. What the?
Is that Wayne?
Wayne wasn't even on the phone.
It's stuck in my throat. But
I choose Wayne for that.
But they were talking about how they wrote 2 screenplays. Because these two producers happen to live together, so not only have they been like quarantined, but they're quarantined with a writing partner.
This year?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they wrote
2 screenplays.
They described both of them to us. I was like, that sounds like 2 full movies right there to me.
Some people are not having the problem that I'm having, and it's I only feel good about it on some level because I do know other people who are normally like I consider myself to be pretty prolific. Like I can sit down in front of an instrument and come up with something that sounds pretty decent. Pretty much right away.
Yeah.
This year is not the case. It just like I don't know what the deal is. The only things I can come up with are exceptionally slow, cinematic, and simple things that sound very ugly, or like I said, melodramatic. I think they sound like I'm going for sort of like a dark melancholy, but really they just sound melodramatic. It's not good. They're like basically
that comes through in the music, or
I think they're like glorified emo songs.
Okay,
do you know what I mean?
Which I mean,
not the good emo. I know there's a handful, but I'm talking about like Get Up Kids or something. I'm talking about like some Dashboard Confessional shit.
It's like new rap is just old emo.
Wait, what?
It follows this exact same
my
format.
Rap game has fallen off so hard this year.
When you say cinematic stuff now, is that leading into a project? Are you gonna be doing anything along those lines?
I am. I have 3 or 4 movies set up that I'm scoring in the next 2 to 3 years.
All right.
Some of them are pretty substantial budgets. Others are smaller. Actually, I was supposed to contribute music to a scene in Death Drop Gorgeous, but I just didn't have enough time. And I was moving around a lot, things like this, and learning new software, so it just wasn't going to come together. But I have been intermittently scoring things and licensing music to various companies and whoever for a decade now, and the Last Daughters record has some of that in it.
Yeah, you get that feel of the ambience is kicked up.
I let a little more in,
Yeah.
Typically, I think about like, how do I make music that sounds like Daughters, and how do I make this music sort of strange? And I'm taking for granted the idea that like to even do a band like ours for 19 years is strange in and of itself, because for most people it's unlistenable.
Yeah.
But I let some of the cinematic shit in, and that got me a little attention from various directors and people who work as music supervisors and things like this. So I'm self-taught, and I'm about to jump in and maybe embarrass myself, but I'm sort of saying yes to anything that sounds reasonable.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds pretty awesome to me. I've never written anything. Of all the stupid bands I've ever been, I never got to write a soundtrack to a fucking movie or anything, so...
Me either, really. Little things here and there.
Yeah.
I sold a lot of music to Alien Workshop skateboards over
really?
the years.
Yeah.
Like a ton.
I didn't realize that.
Are they still a company?
So they're kind of dipping in and out. I think they're back again.
Yeah.
They sold it to Rob Dyrdek for a while, who destroyed it, I heard.
Yeah.
And then they bought it back, but they had to buy it back with like basically the owner and like one staff member.
Oh, no shit.
But that led to other companies reaching out. Like I'm constantly selling music to skate edits and BMX stuff, snowboarding, stuff like that.
Because I'm telling you, if you were rocking an Alien Workshop board, 7th, 8th grade, that was like you were. It was either that Alien Workshop or the hookups.
I was gonna say hookups, man.
Now, before Daughters, Nick, what were you other projects that you were in?
I've always done a lot of bands at once.
Oh yeah.
In the late '90s, I was in this hardcore band that was on Hatebreed's record label. The band was called What Feeds the Fire. And
I didn't realize you were in that band.
I was, yeah.
I found that CD the other day in my stash of stuff.
Yep. Some of those. Well, we broke up when our drummer was recruited into American Nightmare. He was kind of the glue that held the band together in terms of talent, because we were just playing chords, but this guy could play.
Yeah.
He was like built to play fast hardcore stuff. American Nightmare took him. I was like 17. I was like mad, so I just quit the band. But they found members and kept going, and then it fell apart, and they formed that band Verse.
Yeah, I remember that.
Which was a much more well-known group in the area.
So, What Feeds the Fire into Daughters was your
sort of
your
there was
jump.
I was like playing in this metal band that I won't name because I don't want anyone on the internet to find it. It's
just
not
whisper it over here.
I have great memories of it, but it's not good. But
I promise I won't tell everybody.
Yeah,
hey, there's stuff I don't put on my resume.
You know what? I'll say this: right before that band split up, I forced them to become a goth band called The Fright. That you can look up. That's not the most embarrassing thing, but it's the reason why we broke up. And at our final show, I showed up gothed out, and everyone wore things like Earth Crisis basketball jerseys to piss me off. They resented this vision I had.
Yeah.
That kind of forced them into it.
You just put your war axe back away.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'd be more
played 2 songs, broke up, and got off the stage.
I'd be more interested, though, if I showed up and everyone had Earth Crisis jerseys on, and then there was, like, one dude in the band. I'd be like, I gotta see what's about to happen.
I was
right
like
now.
ceremony before ceremony, man. But I was also drumming in this goth band called Matadayo. It was like kind of like a mix between screamo and goth, which was sort of en vogue at the time. There was other bands doing similar things.
This is maybe 04 we're talking?
No, we're talking like 2000.
Okay.
And then when Daughters started, I had left What Feeds the Fire, but Matadayo and Daughters were sometimes sharing a bill. And then Matadayo broke up, and we went on to do Daughters for a while. Then I was kicked out for like a year.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Then I got asked back and done a bunch of bands in between all that stuff.
The early Daughter stuff just reminds me a lot of like Locust and Albatross and stuff like that.
Yep, all people we've come to know.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure you guys played a bunch with them, right?
Yeah, the people in Albatross especially are like close friends.
Good buddies of mine as well. Like
nice.
Fucking, have you heard that new thing?
The new track is crazy.
No, I haven't heard it.
Oh man, it's awesome. They put out like a new track, like 2 new tracks, right?
I'll throw it on when
it's like a 4-minute EP or something. Yeah. But yeah.
Okay. That's cool.
It's on YouTube right now. It's pretty sick.
Definitely doesn't disappoint.
That's awesome. You know, when Daughters got back together, we played a couple shows in Pennsylvania. This was like in like 2016ish. It was the first time we were really able to ask musicians and bands that we'd like to play with us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we never really had that luxury, but we had an Albatross do the Philly shows, and it was like it was, you know, I had kind of put that music aside for a while. Not them.
I didn't go to that one, but I went the second time they played in 2016 down there.
And it was, I mean, Eddie's voice
was
was
fucking awesome, man.
It was like a Valkyrie.
Yeah,
just
dude.
this banshee, and they were just really, really, really good.
Yep.
You know, and I was so proud to watch them up there because they had come back for those shows too.
Yeah.
They weren't playing it all that time, but when they came back, it was like, in my opinion, better than they were.
Yeah. There's a lot of new songs they haven't even recorded yet that are fucking really
cool.
Nasty. So
yeah,
that should be pretty fucking interesting.
Cool, man. Congrats to those guys.
That's what that was reminding me of the other day when I listened to the first two albums, especially the first one. I was immediately like, oh, I remembered how I found your band in the first place was that.
Yeah, we met them on our very first tour. We just happened to play a show together in Pennsylvania, and we became fast friends, and, you know, we've been hanging out ever since, really.
Yeah.
You know, they come to our shows still.
Good shit.
When we're in town.
Speaking of shows, the last shows you guys had in Providence, can you tell us about that a little bit? Because I know it was...
I think those are 2013.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's when the last time you guys played around here. But...
We just wanted to play a show or two and then quietly make a record.
Yeah.
It wasn't going to be a big deal, but we did want to play a show, so we booked it. And we were going to book it at Ace 220 because we were certain no one was going to care. And seriously, seriously. And then the only reason we moved to the Met was because we had never played our self-titled record live before, and I had tried to push us into new territory, meaning we needed a much better PA. And then it sold out in like 11 hours or something. Immediately, people flying from places like Jerusalem.
Jesus Christ.
And which completely blew our minds.
Yeah.
And they added a second night, and that didn't sell out in pre-sale, but I think it came close in walk-up. And anyway, so those two nights were basically, to that date, the most success we'd ever had as a band. And they were a lot of fun. We weren't particularly good, but we brought out like the most amps. It was the densest sound. It was so ridiculous. And the poor sound engineer, I mean, I remember I saw a video from the back of the room, and like pretty much all you could really hear in the PA was sort of some vocals and just kind of a lot of hi-hat, because frequency-wise, they sort of sit right up there.
Yeah. Like an LCD sound system show.
Yeah. But they were really, those shows were a blast.
Yeah.
They were really cool, man.
Oh, wow.
And we had Power Masters play. I did.
Yeah.
No one wanted them on, and I was like, I like this band.
I didn't realize they played that. That's weird.
Where are they from?
This is a now defunct and short-lived Providence sort of punk band.
Mm.
Power.
And in my mind, when I had to like sort of move back from New York, they were the precursor to realizing that like good, true punk was sort of coming back again. It never goes away, but like it was kind of on the wane.
Yeah.
And when I saw them, I'm like, this is kind of like the real attitude that you look for in punk music. And little did I know, though, it was sort of springing up everywhere, kind of all at once.
Yeah, after that there was a lot of those bands around here for a good, 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Not so much anymore, but definitely at the time there was a shitload of them.
Who are you listening to now? Who's catching your attention?
Man, I don't know. I haven't been good this year about listening to new music at
That's
all.
what I was saying.
Yeah, Josh only wanted to just rip on things. He's like, I've heard shitty music. And he's just like, we can go start there.
I listen to all the shitty music. I listen to good music, but I also love really bad music.
I'm pretty certain that if I have things that are good in my listening habits, that's purely by accident. I'm sure that everything I listen to regularly kind of sucks. But when I explore a lot like I am right now, I tend to go through a period where it colors the music that I make in negative ways. Like I'll find something that's way outside the wheelhouse that I like, and then all of a sudden you can hear that in what I'm making, and then what I'm making is bad.
Josh was saying that he, on the most recent record, that the influences that were coming out, I definitely noticed it was. He mentioned like an art house rock kind of vibe, and you could kind of hear like this Nick Cave-esque with, like you were saying, with like just the dissident, like just like I feel like. A twisting knife is like a really good way to describe.
You know what's weird about that record? When I just made it. I made it in GarageBand in my house, and everyone lives. I'm the only one who's still in Rhode Island. They've all moved, and we would just trade demos via Dropbox, and we'd have commentary. And we kind of write that way, Yeah. And once or twice a year, our drummer would fly out from Texas, and we'd get in a room together and generate a couple things here and there. But I just made it, and all I wanted to do, the only thing that needed to happen was I needed to like this thing. And I wanted it to feel like it was now. I didn't want to do some throwback Daughter shit at all.
Yeah.
And when it came out, though, immediately all the reviews from like listeners and people working in music were like, "This is a record about mental health." And I was like, "What? That's so weird." And then people were saying this is a very, like, people who are probably less initiated with some of the subculture of music that we listen to were saying things like, "This is a very terrifying record," which also never occurred to me because I've heard terrifying music.
Yeah, it doesn't seem too terrifying.
Right.
Yeah.
So I kind of know that there's stuff, you know. But what I've learned in the last 2 years is that it's very much subconsciously a record about mental health. I mean, there might be some references lyrically that are overt, but as far as I am concerned, I started to realize in time that my music is totally a representation of my fractured mental health. And that sounds a little corny, but
no,
I started to figure it out. I started to go, holy shit, it's in there. Like, it's totally subconsciously, that's what it is. I figured, you know. And also, I've been in so many different types of bands that are very much different than Daughters. Like, if you've ever heard another band I was in called Fang Island, you know that is
I've heard Fang
polar
Island.
opposite.
Yeah.
And I also play bass in a post-punk band, which is different than those two. And so when I think about music making, what I hope I'm capable of is being able to do different types of things. That's always been a goal of mine. So when you make a record like that, you're, in my mind, I'm thinking nuts and bolts mostly, and trying to affect the listener with trying to control mood and tone, things like this. And then the record comes out and it's like, it's about mental health, and you're like, well, no, it's not. And then, you know, you have like a rough year and you go, maybe it was. You know?
So what was like the biggest thing that you guys played since you got back together? Like, what was the...
I wish people who've known me for a long time in Rhode Island could have just been with us to see how bizarre last year was.
I saw like some videos of it and I was like, how many fucking people are at some of these shows?
It was so weird.
This is LA? Or LA, Chicago?
Well, as headliners, we're now, they're called A markets, like places like LA and New York and stuff.
Yeah. We're
bringing around 1,500 people as a headliner.
Damn.
Which is kind of a lot,
yeah.
You know? In Providence back in the day when we were active, it was more like 300.
Yeah.
So we've grown substantially, and what's fascinating is as someone who never sought out to have a career, there are people showing up with their kids, bringing them to their first quote-unquote concert.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, because like
right?
shit from 20 years ago, it's a band again. Yeah.
And then there are people who liked Canada songs showing up, and there are people who are showing up for the new record.
Yeah.
And then there's people who are just older. You know, like I meet and take pictures with folks who are in their like 50s and stuff now.
Yeah.
And probably for anyone who's sought a career, this is not abnormal when you get a little attention, but for someone who did it accidentally, this is very weird for me.
Yeah.
To have my picture taken all the time is really not my thing.
Yeah.
So we just try to rise to the occasion. But so those moments were like fascinating. Places like we play this place Belasco in LA, and you walk out into the crowd, into the stage, and it's just like tons of people, way more than you're used to. The biggest things we did though were always festival related. Like we played Hellfest in France. It's not the Hellfest of our youth from the States. It's now like this gigantic metal bonanza thing, and we played our crowd in our tent was about 10,000 people.
Yeah.
But then they film you and put you up on these giant projectors to 90,000 other people.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Something around that. And oddly, I had like the worst show with my life. That was the biggest crowd I've ever played to, and my gear broke, and then I didn't rise to the occasion particularly well.
Yeah.
And then before that, we did this thing called Roadburn, which is sort of like a very popular make it or break. Like it can really boost your career.
Where is that again? Where do they have that?
Tilburg, Netherlands.
Okay.
And again,
like a South by Southwest kind of thing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, it's huge.
For like dark music, aggressive music, and I didn't know anything about it. I literally just went to Jam Stage for many years, H220 for many years. I don't read music journalism. I don't learn about fests because my music never gets there, so why the fuck do I care? And I can't afford to go to any. Yeah. So I literally get there and I'm like, oh, this is cool. And walk out onto the stage, and it was like the room starts here, and then sort of as it goes back towards that to the rear of the room, rises up, so that way people can stand and still see the show. And it was just like, it just seemed like this endless cascade of people, and I was absolutely terrified. The stage was gigantic. Yeah. And also had a weird show at that one too, because if you move away from the monitors and you're not used to that shit, you just can't hear anything.
Yeah, that's
like
true.
Your drummer's so far away you can't hear a snare, which is odd, you know. And there was an AC unit that no one told me about, so I set all my guitars up in front of it. So every time I picked one up, it was way out of tune.
Because it just cooled everything. It just
I would make it super hot and sweaty, and it would cool, and it would just like detune, and then we'd have to like fuck up the flow of the set, or the sound engineer would have to just highlight the other guitar player who's a hired gun. So that's like not ideal. You want to highlight the dude who's in the band. You know.
Yeah. How does a hired gun react when you hand him one of your records? Be like, this is what we need from you.
We've had a few over the years. We try to meet people and play with folks who are familiar not just with our music but with making challenging, artful, like underground stuff. Like we've had a member of the band Terra Mellos play with us.
Oh, all right, yeah.
So like this person arguably would have some insight. Weirdly, we've had this guy Gary with us for about 12 or 13 years now.
Gary?
Gary.
The Gary.
Yeah, Gary. If he ever... I don't want to seem like we're making fun of this guy, but I might as well just tell you his last name is Potter, which was a thing for a little while when Harry Potter was a big deal. Gary is actually...
I couldn't help myself. I had to say it out loud.
That's the only thing that
He's
really
from Richmond, Rhode Island. He's from Richmond.
Okay.
And he is a magician.
He is a magician.
A Richmond magician.
Yeah, you don't know about fucking Richmond Magician School? You've never been there before?
Yeah.
I do not, and I dabble in the... slightly in the...
Yeah. Well, your credits do not transfer to an actual college from there.
This dude is a magician on the guitar. He has to be one of the best guitar players on the planet. He's crazy good.
Yeah.
And he has no insight into underground music. This is like a Berkeley guy, jazz,
He's just
blues.
nasty at playing a guitar.
He's just incredible, and he was in a rapcore band in the 90s that I had the misfortune of catching.
We all.
Sorry. I was in plenty of bad bands, but not rapcore. But yeah, Gary's band wasn't any good, and I saw it, and he always stuck out in this group. Not as a good player, just I didn't like what he was doing. And then years later, I started working in a guitar shop, and he was teaching there, and I was like, this motherfucker teaches people how to play guitar.
Yeah.
Wow. He's got to be ruining the lives of these kids. And then one day I walked by the room and I heard what he was doing. He was like in between lessons, and this dude was just riffing over this Les Paul song. And it was like the most adept and incredible playing. It blew my mind. I couldn't believe that the same guy from this rap band was like that fucking good at guitar. And anyway, so Gary is profoundly good and also a profoundly kind and generous person. Working with him is strange because it's playing the music of Daughters is so different for him that he actually struggles with what we're doing to a degree. He always figures it out, but it takes him a while, and that's like cognitive dissonance. Like it's like perfect because he's the best player and he can't figure our shit out. Whereas to me, our shit seems totally accessible and normal to me, and I can't play any of these things he's doing. Like I don't play that way. I can't play a guitar lead, for instance. I really can't do shit like that. So we keep Gary around because he's a really hard worker. He's super invested, and he's just a pleasure to be around. We were supposed to play a show last year with the saxophone player from Lost Boys.
Oh, gee. Oh, what? The greased up sax man from the Lost Boys?
Yeah, Tim.
Yeah.
And
he's like, yeah, Tim.
Oh, Tim.
We've had this joke so many times before.
You guys have brought him up before?
Yeah, we've talked about
we make fun of that movie constantly. So.
Dude,
he's always a point of mention if you're talking about the Lost Boys.
Some promoters we know were like, yo, we got Tim. He's playing shows again. We want to fly you in. We'll pay for everything. Where you stay, just play a show with Tim. And we were like, fuck, yes. This is like our dream come true. Like Lex and John and I, we love Lost Boys. Yeah. You know, we're still under its power.
You still believe? That's what you're telling me.
We still believe. Nice. And we have management now. They helped us see that it would just be very expensive and not a thing to do. But our drummer's partner got one of those celebrity videos together. You pay a celebrity and they make you a personalized
cameo.
Video.
Yeah.
He did one for our drummer. He did like this sprawling, like 3-minute long.
That's a long one for a cameo, right?
Yeah.
They usually go like minute and a half.
Yeah, usually.
Yeah.
This dude goes in. He's referring to our drummer by all of his like joke nicknames that we have for him.
Alright.
And it's a perfect gift for John. I mean, John loves this shit.
Man, if you get Greased Up Sax Man to be on a couple of albums, it would be fucking hilarious.
I'm fucking cool with that.
That'd be
That'd be so cool, man.
We do, like I said, we do talk about weird stuff on this podcast, and we had a user suggestion from a couple weeks back, but we've been delayed due to COVID, as we keep saying. But the user suggested that we talk about something called the Sahara Sea. Have you heard anything about this? You know about this? You hear about this? No. Neither did any of us, and actually when we went online to do some research, it was rather limited. All we got was like maybe 1 or 2 articles One of them was from 1911 and seemed to be in a type of English that I no longer understand.
So you're going to say that news from 1911 isn't trustworthy?
Not trustworthy, but it was very difficult to understand.
Because I'm saying it's not.
But basically, there are these projects that have been proposed all over the world. One of them has actually been seen through, but it's basically a hypothetical land removal from barren regions. So in 1877, this Scottish entrepreneur named Donald Mackenzie kind of had this idea to create a irrigation canal that would lead into northern Africa, to bring water to basically a landmass the size of Lebanon is what they're looking at. If just thinking about the undertaking that would take.
They wanted to nuke the whole, right?
Down the timeline, as they kind of figured out how impossible this project would be in the middle of the desert. It would take decades and tons of people would die because you're just literally working in the middle of the desert.
Sounds like the worst job to have.
Later on in the 20th...
You don't want to go nuke shit in the desert?
No. Like,
right, who the hell emailed this suggestion?
You get stuck out there, it's like 120 degrees on a good day.
On a good day.
When there's not nukes.
But I mean, going forward, it is one of the last, uninhabited places in the earth, and as population gets to be a big problem, desert projects like this seem less and less crazy. Now, Josh was saying one of the proposals for it was to drop somewhere around 220 nukes into the same location, over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, and to just get down to where seawater would just fill it up, and then they could just be well, good job, Johnson. You did it again.
That was a real suggestion?
That was a real actual suggestion.
For some reason, I thought you said this was Josh's suggestion.
This is my master plan.
What kind of crazy shit is that? You can't drop 220 nukes anywhere.
Well, this is what they were going at back in the
40s. Why everything was proposed. But like I said, as the overpopulation starts to become a problem.
You can't even have a fucking gender reveal party. Let alone drop 220 nukes, man.
The Middle East nuked. An ocean-related scam.
They dropped 220 nukes.
I think 30
it's a boy.
people died, right? 30 people died, all because of that gender reveal party.
I know, and it's the second one. When I saw the article,
that's the second fire related to a gender reveal?
The one from 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever it was, the other fire, I toured through that. Through California when it was happening. It was also the result of a gender reveal party.
People need to stop.
What the hell's going on at these parties? People
using pyrotechnics for your
They're
gender
using
reveal.
pyrotechnics. They'll use things that release colored smoke, and when you see the smoke, you're blue for a boy.
I heard that they have to pay for all the expenses that go into.
All right, so that
kid's
life is fucked for the rest.
I know. I was talking to my parents about this. I was imagine being in debt for your whole life and then still being in debt when you die.
Yeah. There's no way there's going to be so much property and land damage, and there's no way anyone could pay that, right?
I mean, so here's the thing.
It's I don't know.
They were we should have just done balloons, man. This is ridiculous.
Just a slide whistle and a balloon.
Or what's that thing you blow into it and a little arm comes out?
Yeah, it's a slide whistle. Yeah.
Slide whistle, party maker.
The thing about California and why it's so funny that it happened from a gender reveal is because there's signs everywhere that say, warning, do not do this, dry season, high risk fire. And they're interchangeable signs. Somebody goes up there every day and checks it,
and then fireworks,
and so there was signs around that was you're not supposed to do this. And if you're smoking a cigarette in your car and you flick it out the window and say a cop sees you do it, you get fined $400.
Oh yeah,
as you should. That shit's stupid. Just put it out in the fucking ashtray.
Yeah, there's an ashtray in your fucking car, or get a Dunkin' Donuts cup if you don't have
it. Yeah, seriously.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous. We're supposed to we're supposed to. The world around you is supposed to mind your smoking habit.
Yeah. I don't know. I smoke cigarettes and I don't have a problem with putting them in a fucking cup if I have to.
Yeah, there's all kinds of easy shit you can do and still smoke.
Super.
This episode's sponsored by Marlboro cigarettes.
I have played a show sponsored by a cigarette company.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I didn't know it. You roll up and you're like, oh, there's Camel cigarette ads everywhere.
Yeah.
You take them down before you play. So,
So I guess wrapping up one more thing on these Desert Sea projects. There's more of them in the works. One of them was the Salton Sea in California, which is actually the largest lake in California, was a desert restructuring, as you might want to call it. It's a lot smaller now because it's a salt lake and it's out in the sun, so it's like being evaporated and stuff like that.
I think the suggestion at the time for why they were doing this was that they were hoping to de-escalate the population, like the masses in the cities, in hopes to draw them into where the desert was, so to speak.
Oh, this is why we have all these bizarre empty cities on the globe and strange places like that. No, it's true. Have you seen these?
Yeah.
No, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But they were just like, well, maybe it'll be better for population if we can spread it out more.
Yeah, I gotta get into it more, man. I don't know, man.
What's your guitar setup? What do you have a go-to guitar that you're stuck with?
That I record with?
Yeah.
I've gotten some more guitars, like the daughters. Like I have signature guitars that are about to come out this year.
Get out.
Which is very weird, but that I have like sponsorships and endorsements and things that didn't exist before. But my go-to is like a $50 Fender Squire all stock because it records. It sounds fucking incredible. It's crystal clear. That's what I used on that whole record.
Oh, no shit.
A blues driver and a $50 Squire for like 99% of the record.
Wow.
some of the things you needed like a Les Paul or something just because you needed more body. But when you said it was like a 90s noise rock record, my goal was to try to make it sound like an 80s production style thing. And my demos sound that way, but Seth smartly helped me like blend it a little more because I was seriously going for like gated drums, like I wanted
that,
full
though.
like Killing Joke.
I love that so much.
Yeah, and I was all about it for like the 6 years it took me to make a record. I'm like, this is gonna be my tribute to reverb and 80s production styles.
I love reverb.
I got to Machines and they were like, nah.
No.
They were like,
we're not doing that.
They're like, some of that's staying, some of it's going.
Yeah.
I just love 80s stuff so much.
Me too. I can't fucking help it.
Obsessed.
I keep thinking I'm gonna. It just keeps sticking.
You know what I've been doing lately? I've been watching the worst 80s shows, one of them being Baywatch.
That's 90s.
Lord.
Is it 90s? No, it's not.
Totally.
It's 80s.
No way.
No, we watch it.
I was a little kid.
Maybe it
No,
started
it's
in the
80s.
80s. It's definitely 90s. Pamela Anderson's on it.
Yeah, it was definitely 90s.
No, but she wasn't on it for the first season.
Maybe it did start in the 80s.
Or the second season. She wasn't on it for like 2
pretty
seasons.
late 80s.
No, yeah, look it up. Anyway,
Oh,
there's
well.
tons of montages of like butts. Like
Yeah, it's Baywatch.
it's okay, so Baywatch
fucking
is
Baywatch.
mostly montage and butts.
That's
and
funny
like
because
10 minutes
that's
of
from
dialogue.
an era in which boobs were the thing that everyone liked.
Certainly.
But, like-
Butts are like now.
Pamela Anderson built her whole career off.
Yeah, everyone cared about boobs. No one had a butt then. Why would you have a whole show about butts?
I don't know. Listen, I watched it and there was tons of butts to be watched
like
on the
89,
show.
reasonable butts?
Very reasonable butts. What I don't understand.
That's
like,
the original name.
It's like girls like taking their normal clothes off and then being like this, and it's just
This week on
zoomed in
Reasonable
the
Butt
butt.
Beach.
Damn.
You know what I mean?
I wonder
It's
what their
just like-
demographic was. Like, who actually watched that?
I don't know. It came out in 1989.
I can't
Whoa.
picture a lot of guys really watching it because the dialogue isn't
It's
that.
for like pervert 10-year-olds around then because it came out. It would be on at like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Like
Most things are just
The
marketed
guys are hot
towards
sometimes.
13-year-old boys and girls. You know what I mean? Like
I mean,
it's,
that's,
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of live for the Hoff and Baywatch.
the Hoff.
you just
that's
call
like
it
that's like OG dad bod.
the,
that's
orig-
like-
the,
yeah.
the original.
That's
Have
like
you ever-
curly,
That's
like
his trap
full
name,
body
actually.
pubes.
So my friend Kate, who I worked at
Very
with
German.
at Newberry Comics with,
Mhm.
she showed me Dilfs of Disneyland.
What the fuck?
It's like dads.
Yeah, no, I got
At
that.
we know what
Disneyland.
DILF means.
This is a what a YouTube channel or something?
It's an Instagram page. It's just it's like a bunch of people
taking creepy photos of dads.
Of people's dads. Yes.
Well, that's kind of creepy.
I kind of dig it though.
Isn't it fucked up when you get an actual phone call? You're like, what in the fuck?
Yeah, I don't
get it. It's
nobody
always some crazy
me.
shit.
Yeah, nobody calls me.
It always says spam risk.
I wish that would just, instead of saying unknown, should just say nonsense.
Nobody calls me unless they want money, so...
I literally am on autopilot. It's like I was saying earlier, like my dad gave me a guitar and that was it. I never really thought about anything else. It's kind of fucked up, actually. Yeah. When you start to, I'm going to be 38 next month, and I'm like, I don't want to do anything. Nothing. I'm just going to go back out on tour. I don't know.
Yeah,
I want to eat good food. I don't know. I don't understand.
I'm with that, though.
That's pretty much my two goals.
Eat good food. Yeah. We can go
Someone
on like
said
a
to me the
food
other day,
tour,
I'm like, what have you been doing all year?
Like
I drink the best coffee. I eat the best food. I was like, you do? I was like, that never even fucking crossed my mind. I'm like, I'm literally eating.
I've been shoving crap into my mouth for
I'm
for
like
months.
eating peanut butter with a spoon out of the jar, going.
I'm not gonna say I didn't.
That's
do that
me
today.
too. I love peanut butter. You know, I used to
least once a
sleepwalk and eat peanut butter out of the jar with my hands, and I would only know because it would be in my rings like the next day. It would be like, oh.
Yeah, you guys should do some shit on Mad Hatters. You guys ever seen that?
That's what I was going to ask you as a guest on the show. We need some suggestions of things that you found weird or strange that maybe need to have more.
I like all this stuff, actually. It's funny that I ate up so much time just fucking pontificating about music shit.
That was the reason for you being.
I guess that's a good thing, right?
I guess so.
There's no dead air.
You wanted me to do 45 more minutes on this?
I'm saying next season invite me back and I'll just talk about horror movies and like
he wants to come back, you hear this?
That's great. That's great.
It's tough too because
Mad
you find
Hatters,
out.
You said though.
Mad Hatters are pretty cool. I saw that on some episode of something over the last 10 years. Where
what an actual Mad Hatter was, or
so that comes from this thing. Is back in the day, people who made hats. The hats were super popular. They're popular now, obviously, but like top hats and all these ridiculous hats are popular. These dudes were working with mercury while they were making them regularly, having no idea it was fucking them up. So all these hat makers. It was like an epidemic of people who were literally going insane because they were filled with mercury. So
they would like use it to clean the insides of the hats out and shit like that, right? So then
something like that.
So then people that would wear the hats would also get the same thing.
Oh man!
Everyone.
I'm happy I brought that up then.
Yeah, it's a thing.
A lot of people with mercury poisoning.
Yeah, you know.
I know.
Going all fucking nuts.
I was on tour with Chinese Stars one time in Paul Vieira. I was eating a lot of tuna fish.
Yeah.
And Paul Vieira was like, you gotta stop eating that tuna fish, man. You're gonna get mercury poisoning. And I was like, what? I was like, literally, some of my earliest memories are scenes from fucking horror movies. Like, I remember the Twilight Zone movie. There's like a little girl. Yep. The sister turns on her. She doesn't have like a mouth or something or no eyes. That's like literally one of the first memories I have.
I haven't seen that movie in a long time.
So, like, what are your favorite, like, current horror movies?
Oh man, so I also used to work at Acme Video for years, and so I thought I was gonna be a filmmaker for a long time, and so that place helped to grow my interest in films substantially. And so the things I like now are like really dry, old, fucking bizarre shit, like Iron Rose. You ever seen Iron Rose? It's an old French erotic horror film. It's slow as shit, but it looks incredible. It takes place in an ancient like French cemetery.
We did see Veronica.
Veronica?
No, don't listen. No.
This movie's incredible. It's beautiful. It's spooky as shit. The setting is incredible. It's like this couple goes to a cemetery to just fuck around, and it's like an ancient, crazy looking one, and they're playing in old graves, and there's weird things that they don't really draw attention to, like clowns randomly walking around in the background in the woods and shit. I love Daughters of Darkness. Has been probably one of my favorite horror movies all my life.
I haven't heard of that one either.
It's another like foreign, super dry, like kind of almost erotic horror movie thing. My favorite horror movie of all time is Night of the Demons.
Oh, I just watched it.
I've seen that thing that's like my Halloween movie.
Mm-hmm. So I just compiled my 2-month Halloween.
Demons is sick as well.
My 2-month Halloween list. And there's a really cool documentary. If you haven't seen it, it's called In Search of Darkness. It's like 4.5 hours.
I watched it. As soon as it came out, I was having a bad day or something. I watched the whole thing.
Wasn't it really good?
Sitting. It was, here's the thing. I'm not sure how deep your knowledge goes. They didn't say shit I didn't already know for the most part, but I loved it. I loved it. I was just like a pig in shit, just enjoying myself. They talk about all the dopest movies. They reference films that are cult favorites, not really at the top, and even when they don't talk about them, they're always showing poster art for like more obscure horror movies and stuff.
Yeah, we just did a poster film a poster thing talking about
for the
posters,
podcast?
movie posters.
Nice, I love that shit, man. You know what I have that you guys might remember? Are we all around the same age?
I'm 36.
You're 36?
Yeah.
How old are you? 36?
Yep.
You
28.
You seem a little younger. That's okay. Weird. Okay. Back in the day, those little like quarter slot machines at like supermarkets and stuff for kids.
Mm-hmm.
We used to have, that sometimes they'll have a sticker machine.
Yeah.
In the 80s, they had ones that were just filled with horror movies. Do you guys do? But I have all of them.
Yeah.
Horror movie stickers?
That
horror
was still
movie holographic stickers from the 80s. I have every single one.
I remember the holographic ones. I remember getting one that was a Def Leppard.
Holy shit! I feel like I remember that
sticker. That was like the coolest. To me, it was like the coolest thing ever.
I had that tape when I was little. Like my mom
had like all Buffy ones.
The big one.
Pyromania.
I had that shit. And I had the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air tape. The Nightmare on My Street.
The Nightmare on My Street, which is a common actual topic on this podcast.
Really? Yeah. That's interesting. What about I have like no records. I don't collect records, and but I do have the Fat Boys Nightmare on Elm Street record.
I don't have that one. I have a lot of Fat Boys records.
And I'm kind of wondering if maybe they got permission or something.
Yeah, they probably actually got licensing.
They got permission because they, like, if I'm remembering the album correct, they had, like, Freddie on it with them.
I think they have a song in one of the soundtracks in all likelihood.
Yeah, in fact, I feel like I remember seeing Robert Englund on the artwork.
Yeah,
like in a photo with them.
Yeah, I think he's on the front cover.
Yeah, there you go. Right there.
I went through a phase where I was sifting through all the horror movie related offshoot records. So like there's a Freddy Krueger album. You guys ever heard that?
That's the one I'm talking about.
This is the one I have. Yep. I believe that's called beatboxing. I believe they call that the hip hops. Yeah, there's a whole Freddy Krueger album. It's terrible. There's also have you ever heard the Crypt Keeper record?
What is it?
The Crypt Keeper has an entire hip hop record.
God,
it's
maybe that's an episode we should do.
Return of the Bruno?
Bad horror movie records,
or just bad horror movie records, or bad rapping records. Because I know Rick Moranis did like a rapping.
Oh, you got to do the Fieldy record.
The Fieldy of Dreams.
Yeah,
Fieldy's Dreams.
Fieldy's Dreams.
That's low hanging fruit.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be in there a little.
It's a strike zone.
You want to hear something weird about Lex? Lex has a Fieldy's Dreams tattoo. Yeah, him and the rest of the fucking Invincible thought that record was so funny. They all agreed to get like joke Fieldy's Dreams tattoos.
Yeah.
Lex has some of the worst tattoos I've ever seen in my life. He's covered in. He does not give a fuck. So he got one instantly, and then everyone else chickened out. So now he's the only one who has one.
That's fucking funny.
Yeah.
That is pretty funny.
No, but you should cover fucked up off-brand horror movie merchandising.
Okay.
There's a lot of that shit. There's so much you could.
Flamethrower.
Isn't there an Instagram dedicated to this?
Off-brand.
Probably. There's an Instagram for like everything.
No, there really is. Like oh man, I remember.
Tales from the Crypt record. You should put that shit on. It's probably on YouTube.
Yeah.
It's the worst thing I've ever heard in my life.
Sounds fucking awful.
It's the guy who does the Crypt Keeper voice, like trying to rap.
Oh my god!
And he's going like, "It's evil over here," like and it's going.
God.
It doesn't make any sense. He's not on the beat. Nothing rhymes. It's fucking terrible. The Tales from the Crypt cartoon is back on streaming right now.
That's bad. I watched it.
It's on like Crackle or something.
There's Creep Show is a show now too on Amazon Prime. It's actually
this is awful.
I didn't like it.
I just do. I like Body Bags and I like Creep Show.
Body Bags is cool.
Yeah.
Carpenter.
Yeah, I did like the John Carpenter. It's same thing, but John Carpenter's version.
You know what sucks that they set it up like it's gonna be that is that fucking whack show that showed up in the last year called Nosferatu, but it's spelled like N0S4.
My old guitar player was working on it, yeah.
Holy
shit.
Filmed around
here.
Yeah. Is that the guy who works at Borealis? That dude?
His name's Alan.
I feel like I have another friend who said the same thing, but that they like runs or owns or works at Borealis Coffee in East Providence.
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, it starts off like this Crypt Keeper vibe, and it's so shitty. It derails instantly.
Like
instantly. It's so bad.
Derails by him not having his own rap song.
Do you guys have any more questions for our guest?
I think that about wraps it up.
You want to talk about grindcore?
We'd love to talk about it. We'll talk about anything and everything.
Cool. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks a lot, Nick. Appreciate you coming in.
No problem.
It was nice meeting you.
It was nice to meet you.